Okay, I hope you're seeing something about China.
Yeah.
Okay, one thing that caught my attention this week uh, was China's demographic problems. And it looks like it may be blossoming into something bigger than just a demographic problem. Um, just to remind everybody, between 1980 and 2015, China had a one child policy, but unintended consequences have really played big. And I think this is the danger of a society that's top heavy, ruled by a party without a lot of checks and balances. So um, uh, let's see what's happened. It was successful. It averted an estimated 400 million births. That's a lot of births. But the consequences, um, you've got a rapidly aging society. So you have the 4-2-1 problem. You have four grandparents, two parents, and one kid to support them all. And so now you've got also a shrinking workforce, um, and the um, other thing that maybe they hadn't planned on was the ability to selectively abort by gender. And that has had huge consequences. And you almost wonder if that was made possible by the Confucian ethic, that um, the favoritism of males, once that individuals had the ability to choose sex, that has caused huge problems. Um, so there's still a problem. The effects of the sex ratio at birth is one problem that started the whole thing, but the accumulated problems over decades has created a distortion in the community.
Oh.
And the uh, now the accumulated effect is there's 119 women for every 100 men in the society, averaged over time. And that's
John,
because,
I think you mean the other way around. 119 men for every 100 women.
yes, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Uh, and so the bride price is one of the practical things that for a guy to get married, he has to pay a huge premium to the bride's family. And that's because there's 22 million women missing. Um, and it's a harsh and brutal market uh, to the woman's advantage. Uh, and it earned this headline: China's rulers have a woman problem. And it's not just a neutral market problem. It's antagonism is growing between the sexes in China. It's worse than it's ever been, and the economists couldn't resist this pun, "Lonely Hearts Clubbed," because it's a harsh and brutal market. And here you have the lonely men sitting around. Um, in the photo in this one article. Um, and the um, this summarizes it over time. The sex ratio has come down a little bit. So maybe at some point they'll grow out of this. Um, but here's another cover story, um, and they use the word manosphere, which implies a political ideology. And because it's a political, the misogyny has come out into the open, and uh, there is there's some whiff of this on the international scale. Obviously, there's a big whiff of this here in the United States with this idea of the manosphere, which got headlines during the last election when somebody like Joe Rogan picked up the political end of this, and it could get and has gotten very nasty. And you just wonder if this is a global phenomenon, very disturbing. Um, so, in this country, on the extreme political end of it, we have this concept of an incel, uh, implying that somebody who is involuntarily celibate. And uh, it's men who are unable to find, they can't get a date. They can't find sexual partners, is the definition. Um, and there's blame. The incels, they blame women and societal structures for their lack of romantic success. I don't know if any of you saw the miniseries, 4 single-hour episodes of Adolescence, a British drama that goes inside the life of a kid, a troubled kid, who gets swept up in this gender politics. And it ends extremely tragically. It's not a feel good show at all. So if you want to see this whole thing, the psychological state demonstrated, and you'd missed adolescence, if you're ready for it, check it out. So the history of the term incel, involuntarily celibate, it's an old one back to the 1990s, and a support group was set up at a university, and that was all it took to jumpstart this whole thought. Um, the Over time, the ideology of it has grown into self-pity, feelings of isolation, and uh, it's gone in absolutely the wrong direction. Um, so a lot of controversy, a lot of violence, inevitably, as in this drama, adolescence, um, the hostility, uh, misanthropy, uh, and entitlement. That's been part of it, true too. So very unhappy part. Now, why? Why? And Richard Reeves, he's a British social scientist who wrote this book of Boys and Men, and he takes it all back to underachievement. That boys are just not making it in school, and that the girls at certain stages have always had a kind of an edge. And he's come up with a bunch of ways to try to level the playing field, as it were. Um, and so, and this is very different than it used to be when girls were disadvantaged. But now all the statistics and it extends in college and successful completion of college um, and the labor market is changing as a result. And why is that? Is that because of the nature of the tasks facing boys and girls is changing? And are there now that we're out of the age where it pays to have strong muscles, maybe the boys are having to redefine what they can aspire to. Um, I don't know, and I'd be curious if any of you have any ideas, thoughts about it. Um, but there you are. And a knock-on effect is the infertility, the failure to reproduce. And we're seeing that e- everywhere except in Africa. The fertility rate is going down everywhere. Uh, some places are much worse than others. Yeah, Jim.
Are you suggesting that I should applaud the birth of a fourth child for the Vances, a son?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. By the way, the last time there was a vice president who had a child in office was in 1870. Grants.
Wow.
Oh,
Been a long time.
wow. That's interesting. Thanks.
Well, I
Little
like the
factoid.
Andy Borowitz comment on this, that the Pope has been expressed willingness to relax the church's stand on birth control when it comes to JD Vance.
uh, yeah. Uh, well, the effect on China, it may be that one child policy turned out to be permanent unwittingly. The Chinese population is going to start shrinking. We covered this in more detail early in the year. So that's um, yeah, we're not quite at replacement, but we're not as bad off as China. Um, and this is the other thing. Uh, pe people don't want to go live in China. and the Chinese don't want foreigners to come and live uh, and in China. That's a tremendous disadvantage. The more we wring our hands about China, some of these basic demographic facts are starting to sink in. And if they don't, if they can, what is that? Well, it's a 3,000-year-old society, and it's extremely, the Han people have pretty much taken over. Sure, they have a lot of minorities, and when you visit China, you see them displayed almost for tourists. At least that was Ico in my experience. And it's a real challenge for the Chinese communists. Yeah, Pepper.
Well, I want to challenge this growth and more is always better. I mean, one of the fundamental suggestions around climate change is we need less people. Now, the age distribution and who does the work, et cetera, is a different issue, but we have too many people on the planet. And I remember when the one child came in and it was controversial, but China would have been something like 4 billion people if they hadn't done it. So you mentioned the 400 million, but all their kids. So I'm not sure that more is always better.
Well, that's true, but if you don't have a replacement, uh, and you have this problem of 4-2-1, it's kind of hard demographically uh, to get by. Maybe China could have taken smaller steps, so you wouldn't wind up with 4-2-1. But uh, that it's tricky. I hear what you're saying, and uh, growth is not always uh, in everyone's interest. That's for sure. But we always thought that the human race would have overpopulation, and that's what we grew up with in the 70s, 80s, 90s. But uh, now it's a totally different problem. I don't know. Of course, everyone says artificial intelligence will figure it out for us, but um, right now, China definitely wishes that they would have something closer to replacement value than the shrinking that we're having. And I don't know the culture now where you have um, uh, kids are not dating, they're not having sex, uh, and they're not reproducing. I guess there's a possible good outcome for that, but we're in uncharted waters, that's for sure.
John, this is Carol. I'd raise my hand, but I can't figure out where the hand is. But my question about I don't know. Um, but do they know where the Chinese are migrating to? If they're migrating out, is that their choice, or are they being moved by China to Africa to work on projects there? Do we know where they're going?
Well, they've certainly been active in Africa, but for a while, uh, the they were coming here to America. Now that's been at least 10 years ago. At one point, I think they were well, I can't remember the exact statistic, but it was surprising how many Chinese were getting here. And at the time, the way they were getting here was taking the cheapest flight out of China, which happened to be to Ecuador. And from Ecuador, they were finding what we call coyotes, people who set up transportation. And in Ecuador, it was people getting the Chinese from Ecuador up to California. And that they had to go across that terrible jungle, walking, and people that had more money could get on a horse and head north. It was a very a strange article, but a lot of Chinese were getting to California by walking from or riding a horse, or if they were better off, a boat, any way to get north to cross the border. Now, all that has changed a lot since Trump. Um, but that's a very small answer to your question, Carol. Um, I was surprised there's a number of Chinese that go to Japan, and that's for cultural reasons. Just Sun Yat-sen left China, the emperor's place, and he went to Japan to prepare for the revolution of the uh, uh, what year was Sun Yat-sen? Anyway, he went to Japan, so there is a tradition of going to Japan, intellectuals mainly. Um, I don't know where else do Chinese go? Probably to Russia, because Russia is becoming a colony of China. All they've got for China is natural resources, petrocarbons mainly. So that's certainly one place. And when we were traveling in China, we met people who had gone back and forth to Russia. Um, but I don't know. That's uh, so. Yeah, Homer.
Well, just a point of pride is that Sun Yat-sen did some of his planning of the revolution in San Francisco. We were a center for it. For the
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, and yeah,
Wow.
San Francisco, we had Russians also come to San Francisco. I just say that because I flashed on it, because my very first patient at San Francisco General Hospital was a Russian immigrant who lived out on Clement Street. And I don't know if you remember, Homer, but at that phase of training at the general, we were also expected to make a home visit. And I remember going out to Clement Street and making a home visit for on a Russian patient.
Yeah, that was a big lot of white Russians, they were called, fleeing the revolution, came to San Francisco. Anyway, Sun Yat-sen, there's actually a statue for him in, just looked it up here, in St. Mary's Square on Stockton Street, that which retraces the history of Sun Yat-sen in San Francisco, where he lived in exile, raised $400,000, founded a Chinese language newspaper, all in service of the revolution.
Yeah, that's a Portsmouth Square, which is a very interesting square. They also have a statue of Robert Louis Stevenson.
They do,
Uh,
correct.
what a great city. Anyway,
Hey, John, this is Tom. I got a comment for you here. I uh, I thought I saw a number recently that uh, people of China coming to the United States has been declining because it's just as lucrative for them to stay in China now, at least like for the computer scientists and people in that sort of a field, to stay in China because the work might even be more challenging in China than it is in the United States. I thought that to be interesting.
yeah, this is not a static situation. You're right. Things have changed a lot in the last decade, in particular. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So, all right, moving on. Uh, this caught my eye. It was a quote from a newspaper. A Chinese, a person from Hong Kong, uh, wrote a Valentine just out of thin air um, on the great contributions that the United States has made to humankind. And I thought I'd include it because we've been thinking and reading about uh, America's dropping admiration for Americans. But this gentleman says, um, and this was in the context of our 250th birthday, which we had a hard time mustering up positive enthusiasm for. He reminds us, and this is why we study history, just because we forget. But he reminds us that we gave the world the internet. If not Al Gore, the everybody that was involved, we did that. And then Ken Burns would remind us that, hey, don't forget American music, jazz in particular, um, and he thanks America for making my life dull, less dull. And I remember thinking that when Bill Clinton was enmeshed with Monica Lewinsky, and the details of that were flashing around the globe. America should get an entertainment tax, you know, forget the tariffs that Trump wants to do, an entertainment tax. By the way, I think one of the surprise and pleasant surprise outcomes of the World Cup was how happy people were to visit the United States. We were pretty much thinking that tourists would stop coming to America, confusing the vitality of life in America with the terrible things we're doing on a policy level, and how embarrassed we are especially the cutting off of all the uh, aid that we had given the world. And I have a slide uh, later on that shows how much America has contributed to the world and the progress that has been made. And now that we're on the downslope of generosity, we tend to forget that we ever did anything, and that's not the case. Um, okay. So I thought we could take a cultural break now and talk about the Odyssey. Um, uh, what was the Odyssey? So Jim sent me some great slides, um, and the whole story starts with the Iliad. And Homer, I haven't forgot that your aspiration to cover this great battle, 400 to 800 BC, between Mycenae and Troy, all the way over here. And so this was the basic lay of the land. And Aiko and I visited the palace at Knossos on the island of Crete, which really gave us a sense of what the world back then was like. And Crete was just a fascinating society, contemporaneous with later Egyptian dynasties, but overlapping with them. Um, and where was Ulysses from? Greek name Odysseus, the name of the book about his travels, the Odyssey. Where was he from? He was from Ithaca. Now, who knows what that's based on? But it was way out into the northwest. So Ulysses was not in the center of things. Um, and Helen of Troy was married to uh, Menelaus. I think that's right. And was centered here. And when she was stolen by a Trojan adventurer and taken to Troy, that started the ball rolling. The battle at Troy goes on for years and years. And right at the center of it is Ulysses, who has this idea of rolling in a wooden horse. And he's seen as one of the major heroes, along with Achilles. And at the end of the war, it's time for him to go home. He's got to go all the way across to Ithaca, and it takes him a very long time. And this is his path. All the places that he goes
Wow.
to and
Months.
visits. Uh, uh, we know some of these between a rock and a hard place, Scylla and Charybdis, the Sirens, of course, um, uh, and the Cyclops. And so all of these are common uh, uh, place names, and we kind of know a sketch of the story, but every once in a while, somebody retranslates the Iliad or the Odyssey, uh, or someone makes a different book about the tale, um, and this, and then of course movies. So the most recent movie, it's Matt Damon as Ulysses. Now, why is Matt Damon next to the actor who played Oppenheimer? Because it's the same director, Christopher Nolan, also in IMAX. Um, and this is what's making a big splash now. Quite a few of our members have seen it. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it today. Um, uh, but um, uh, now, for me personally, um, I thought it would be a good idea to read the Greek myths to our kids. And I did. I think Tim can vouch for that. Um, and uh, this was the starter book of Greek myths. Um, and graduating through different levels, one of our grandsons really got, after he learned the basic Greek myths, got into Percy Jackson, uh, which goes into quite a bit of detail. Uh, uh, Percy Jackson is coming of age and uh, dives into the to that world. Um, I like uh, the Osborne uh, publishing house and their kids' books. They have just the right a mix of text to visuals. I found. Um, and for me personally, uh, I remember, and I wonder if any of you remember 1954, the movie with Kirk Douglas. Um, and it was, reviewing for this, I didn't realize it was such an international film, jointly produced with Italy, France, and the United States, and it actually premiered in Italy, not America. Um, and so the you can tell from the names here, the heavily Italian, um, and also with Kurt Douglas as an American Anthony Quinn. Um, and then um, I wanted to tout this production. Um, this was one I showed our grandkids. This is a mini series, 3 hours long. Very good production values. Uh, you can recognize some of the names here. Uh, and I think, it's not IMAX, but I think it's perfectly fine. One cautionary note, be careful. There are two versions of this mini series. One is the full 3 hours. The other is only half of that, with some major scenes being cut. 1997. Uh, uh,
Oh,
Real, that gets your attention, right? The Cyclops, um, the wife Penelope, the son Telemachus. Um, she's holding the bow while Ulysses is off on the Odyssey. She's being pursued by suitors who are sure that he has died. He's been gone 20 years. and he's never coming home. So they're trying to win Penelope's um, heart. And this is Ulysses' son Telemachus who supports her. Um, and this is the bow that is very stiff, and only Ulysses can string it. Um, and that's the key part. This is an odd detail. I don't know if any of you remember Michael J. Pollard and Bonnie and Clyde. Uh, he stars in this as the god, the wind. Um, just uh, a note. And then there are voluptuous women. That's part of it. Circe and Calypso um, named. And then this is Athena. Uh, uh, the There are a number of movies that have uh, gods take the screen. I remember in Clash of the Titans, Sir Laurence Olivier played Zeus, along with Maggie Smith. They're up on Olympus, and you go back and forth. So the actual myth is woven in. I think that this is going to happen if you see uh, the Odyssey. It happens in the new production as well. Um, and this is Christopher Nolan. He is audacious and ambitious, and he attracts criticism. So some criticism, for instance, that the actress playing Helen is too black. The soldier's armor are too much like Batman. Why? Because he made 3 films in the Batman series. Somebody nitpicked that Odysseus' son calls him Dad, which is too American, which is interesting because Christopher Nolan is British. Uh, and one critic said, if I saw this on a plane, I'd still walk out. So he, he's a lightning rod. These are his 13 films. We all remember 3 years ago, Oppenheimer. And this is his first movie since that. But maybe you remember Dunkirk. It was an interesting film that took place on 3 levels on the land, the sea, and the air, which kept your head spinning, but kept reminding you that it was a multi-theater war. And then there were 3 Batman movies where he really got going. The first movie we ever saw was Memento. I don't know how many of you saw that, about a guy who can't remember anything, and he has to write down everything that's happening in this murder mystery. It was quite challenging and very creative plot line. Anyway, that's Nolan. The Economist thought that he took too many liberties with the plot of the Odyssey, and I thought that he flattened Ulysses by glossing over his flaws, which instead of being a part of a tragic story, were flattened by blaming his drug use on some of his problems. And that there was too much PTSD. Uh, the diagnosis was too prominent, kind of spoiling the tragic aspect of the storyline, trivializing what was happening to him. Um, uh, anyway, every generation has had their qualms about the Odyssey, and starting with the Athenians, going up through the modernist world and James Joyce, and it's always being one of the great works of Western art has always attracted criticism. Uh, and this version is no different. Uh, they didn't much like the apologies for feminism in the script.
Oh,
Um, the and then they took a little jab at the suggestion that the Trojan War was a fight over trade routes. They thought that trivialized the idea uh, too much. Um, so, anyway, he's like a lightning rod, but he's certainly a towering British director like Hitchcock. And as Pepper said, that it's the first blockbuster really shot on IMAX. Okay. Um, here's just one little thing I'll finish with, unless there are other uh, comments. I'll just do this real quick. If Homer was the first great author, Fareed Zakaria had a guest on who wrote an essay for The Atlantic that asked, "Is the end of reading here? Young people are not reading as much." And she takes the history, the burning of the library at Alexandria by Julius Caesar, saying that it wasn't Julius Caesar's fault. It was actually mass apathy back in that day. Yeah, Tom.
Let's see, I got a couple comments. And the first one's a question. The one with Kirk Douglas, Ulysses, is that talk about the Trojan War or his return
Well, yeah.
his return trip
So
or both?
the answer is both, but with an emphasis on the trip. But you can't understand who Ulysses is unless you get in at least the end of the Iliad and the unique role that Ulysses played, as I said, the Trojan horse, wooden horse.
Yes. So I
But
understand that the Trojan War took about 10 years and his return trip took about 10 years. And has anybody in the group seen the movie? I hear it's a 2 hour and 50-minute movie.
yes, people wrote to me. Bob Oxenborough saw it. Bill Walker saw it, and they both liked it strongly.
Oh, good.
I'm sorry
And
that
then I'm not familiar with this term IMAX. I mean, is there that like one version in IMAX and another version in another kind of theater?
I think the answer is yes, but Pepper, can you take that one?
Yeah, no, I talked to a film producer just the other day. There's only really one version of IMAX, which is shot on 70 millimeter film. So instead of the film being 35 millimeters, which is, a little over an inch, it's double that. It's the equivalent of 18 meg resolution. So it's very high resolution and non-digital. They then shoot it in that way. Then there's like post-production conversion to digital and then conversion back to film. But it is indeed film, and there's something like maybe 100 IMAX theaters in the world, one of which is in San Francisco, where you can actually see it in the IMAX. But he said if you don't see it in the IMAX, you're probably missing 20% off the top, 20% off the bottom, and 20% off each side. So it kind of zooms in on the center. So he recommended doing the IMAX.
And the
I think
other,
I think there's different sizes of IMAX. So when you said there's only a certain number of theaters in the world that I think are that size, particular size, there's other IMAXs that you can go to, but they're not the exact same. They're a little
they
smaller.
don't give quite the full screen.
Right.
The other limitation of IMAX is you have to film in very short intervals, 3 or 4 minutes at a time, and they have to stop and reload the cameras. So there's a lot of editing to patch those multiple sequences together. And it's also a challenge for actors to get back to the same emotional state each time they do the next scene after the first one.
So, but when you go to the movie theater, I mean, IMAX gives it like higher resolution. And if you go to different theaters, you might see more because the screen is wider and taller. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, as I'm saying, gosh, it seems like if I'm 100% interested in the story and 60% interested in the technology behind displaying the story, I might want to see it on a regular screen to start with, and then do it. It just seems like you're missing the essence is the story, not what's the 20% on the periphery. Um, and that was one reason I wanted to present the 1997 version. If you just want to get the story to prepare for it, watch 1997, and then once you got the story straight, uh, have at it with IMAX.
Well said, John. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I got to go, but that was great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good to see you all.
Hey, John, before you go, are we gonna? I missed the first part. Are we gonna see you next week?
Yeah.
Okay, I heard you were talking about some medical stuff, et cetera, but I didn't follow it all.
Yeah, not next week. It might be towards the end of August.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, thanks a lot. That's great.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, John.
My pleasure.
John.
Hey, Mom and Dad, do you want to stay on and we'll just chat?
Okay.
Don't hang up.
John,
I'm here.
can you hear me, John?
Yeah.
Actually, are you still there, or did you cut me out?
No, I'm still here.
Because the picture's gone. I was just going to clarify that the Trojan War actually took place in 1200 BC, or nearly. And Homer reportedly wrote it in 800 BC, thereabout. There's some dispute as to authorship, multiple authors, and dates, but that's roughly what I think the dates are.
Okay, so it really took place in the Iron Age.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, maybe even the stone. I can't remember the cutoff from the stone to the Iron Age, but it was way back in 1200 BC that, or 1196 or whatever BC, that the Trojan War took place.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. And
Huh.
thanks for those
Huh.
maps. Those were great.
Yeah, I thought you'd enjoy them. You
The
can
map
always,
is fantastic.
I'm going to send more maps, but they're old ones that I've been saving for you.
Okay. I
All
appreciate
right, thank
I know you like maps. Maybe
you. More maps, James. More maps.
it.
okay. None of them are Puerto Rico, so you're safe.
All right.
Okay, have a good one.
All right.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Go Chen. Go Valkyries.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were doing great until last night.
Well, she gave him a big boost until about 3 minutes left, and then uh, Washington, I guess it was, uh, outscored him something like 10-0 or something. But Chen brought him ahead with some great play.
Yeah, she's having a
I
great
think she scored 20 points, didn't she?
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I
Hey,
can get
Tammy.
trying to get out here.
So are you still in Colombia?
Yeah. I'm we're at Karen